Hello there, this is Mark Sabatella from Outside Shore Music. In this video, I'm going to talk about the idea of real versus tonal imitation in a fugue. This is something where if you study counterpoint, feels like a lot of attention is given to this in talking about fugues, and I want to just demystify it a little bit with a real simple example. What we're going to look at here are two different Bach fugues in C major. There's the one from the Well-Tempered Clavier Book 1, and then there's the one from Well-Tempered Clavier Book 2. So the first one is the one that's maybe a little more familiar, and the basic subject starts like this. That is the main subject of the fugue, and then when the first answer comes in, it's transposed up a fifth, and it's a pretty literal it's a very literal transposition. So, all is well, no special issues came up. That is what is called real imitation. And many fugues will use that. But some fugues will make some adjustments to the notes. And so I want to look at the other one, the one from Book 2, and talk about what adjustment it makes and why this wasn't necessary in the other one. So in this version, our subject is going to go like this. And then some other 16th notes. The answer, when it comes in, well, first of all, let's just imagine if that line was just taken up a fifth. It would go like this. But that is not what Bach wrote. He wrote this. You see what's different? Those first three notes, a literal transposition would have been with a D. D, C, D. But he doesn't give us that. He gives us C, D, C. So, why does he do that? The reason is so that when this answer comes in, it still feels like we are on the tonic chord. It's not an absolute requirement, but it's pretty common that you will see that little adjustment so that the G, scale degree 5, instead of taking it up a fifth, from scale degree 5 to scale degree 2, it just gets adjusted a little bit. So that scale degree 5 becomes scale degree 1. And now we get to still hear that tonic triad at the beginning of that answer. So that is the goal. And typically that's the most important adjustment that is made. When you have scale degree 5 at the beginning of your subject, it's in the imitation, instead of the answer coming in with a scale degree 2, it comes in with a scale degree 1, so that it still feels like it's outlining that same tonic chord. This wasn't necessary in the first one because the first time we see scale degree 5 is not until we've already well established the key. In fact, he's very cleverly given a scale degree 4 really prominent in that subject, which then, when you take that whole thing up a fifth, that scale degree 4, F, becomes scale degree 1. So it feels even more like we're in the key of C. So this is the basic idea. If your subject, if when you take it up a fifth, it feels a little too much like a 5 chord, you make that little adjustment. You just make scale degree 5 transpose to scale degree 1 instead of 2. And so that is what happens here. This line here, had he gone, that would have felt too much like the 5 chord. He didn't want it to feel like the 5 chord, so he just made that little adjustment so that it still feels like the 1 chord. And that is the basic idea of tonal imitation. It's just adjusting the beginning of that answer to still feel like you're in the tonic of the original key. And after that, it'll do what it normally does, and it'll, end up in the 5 before it's done. But this is a real common thing you'll see Bach and other composers do in their fugues.